Hi, this is Susan with StArt, StudioArt.com, and you can also check me out on a Facebook group, StArt Stampin' Up Art. And today what I want to show you is how to make this awesome little birthday card. It was originally made for someone really special to me, and she's an amazing woman. Aunt Carol had a big birthday recently, and Aunt Carol is a horse lover and shares that love of horses by helping train riders and horses, and she's just good folks. And the first time I saw this stamp set, I knew that she would love it. So the card uses the Country Road. It's a clear mount stamp set, and it's kind of interesting that I used all of the stamps from this set in this card, but I did not use any stamps for another set. So it's kind of a all-inclusive right there. You don't have to go looking for too much. And used the Wood Textures Designer Series paper, which has different wood grains, and you can see some are darker and lighter, but it looks good with a variety of different papers. So I did want to let you know that Sale-A-Bration is on. That's January through March of this year. And for those of you new to Stampin' Up or newer to Stampin' Up, they put out a spring catalog. They call it their Occasions catalog, which is full of all sorts of awesome, oh, I had a page marker, full of all sorts of awesome stamp sets, punches, dies, everything you need. And very often complements things they have in their annual catalog. You can see it all online. And then the Sale-A-Bration little mini catalog is items that you can get for free when you place a qualifying order. So this Home to Roost, which I think would look awesome with Country Road, Home to Roost is one that you can get free with a $50 purchase. Now I have had people ask me, is this only purchases from the Occasion catalog? No. That's $50 in purchases from Occasions, the annual catalog, the clearance. It does not matter, just across the board there. And if you do not have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you haven't gotten a set of the Occasions and Sale-A-Bration catalog, just let me know. Get in touch with me at the Susan@StartStudioArt.com, or send me a message through the Facebook group, StArt Stampin' Up Art. And I would be happy to mail you the catalog set. If you don't have an annual catalog, I still have those available as well. Just let me know what you need. And if you do decide to place an order through me, that is awesome, and I appreciate it. Our January hostess code is here. If you have not placed an order with me before, or haven't gotten the color collection card set, as long as you don't check no contact during your online checkout, when you check that, I don't have the ability to see your mailing address. But if you avoid that, I will send this to you through the mail. And it's every Stampin' Up! Cardstock color that is available now with the 2018 revamp. So it's actual cardstock. This is not a printout. And I use this for things like, you know, say I didn't have the old olive stamp that we're going to use for this card. Then I could look at this and kind of compare. In this case, it lines up really nice. Pear Pizzazz would be a really nice substitute. You could probably even go Granny Apple Green and be in good shape. So just gets you everything in your fingertips, and you can, you know, move them along. It's a key keeper that you can take them off, so you can put things how you'd like and figure things out. But I will send you that free if you would like. So any questions or anything, get in touch. Meanwhile, let's make up this card. Again, we're going to do a version something like this. The original, I did not use the old olive mat, which on these cards, the mat is cut to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. But I think on this next one I'm going to do, I'm going to omit that green mat and see how I feel about things. So I now have my Wood Texture Designer Series paper cut to that 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I have an early espresso card base, just a standard A2 card base. So that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Of course, this is 8 1/2 scored at the 4 1/4 to make the card base. So there's that, and we'll just get going. For the horse weather vane, I'm stamping in early espresso, and I'm on purpose keeping these knots and like the variation and things. I think it's kind of cool to see that. So I'm going to leave that in what would otherwise be kind of a negative space there on the card, giving the horse a little bit of a tilt so it has a little energy action. Nice. Just really, really pretty. And so far I've really liked the different colors of this wood texture DSP. Some of them have a little more saturation and some have a little less, but early espresso is holding up. So pardon if I lean in a little bit to get this lined up. Love that. Nothing's better than the wind at your back, the sun on your face, and your family by your side. That is perfect. And I'm going to go ahead with the old olive on the foliage. What I did is I stamped off to kind of keep it with that rustic look. So I'm just inking up and then actually spending the first generation. If the stamping off is a new thing for you, it just lightens up the saturation. And that'll be right about there. So pretty on that paper. Stamp off again. I'm going to tilt this just a little differently. Lower it down a little bit. Do that again. Nice. And one more time. Stamp off for the inside of the card. And maybe make that reach a little more. Oh, that's so pretty. Okay, I'm going to set that aside to dry and move right along to the wagon wheel. I have the wagon wheel stamped in soft suede, and if you have a new soft suede stamp pad and it's pretty juicy, you're going to want to stamp off. Mine is a little bit well loved, so I don't really need to stamp off. But that's something you can test real quick on your scrap paper. That looks nice just like that. And if you chose a darker one of the Wood Textures Designer Series paper, you might not want to stamp off for that either. So that's most of the stamping for the front. I'll just leave that there. And then the other thing we're going to do is heat emboss our sentiment. So I'll get my embossing buddy. For those of you that aren't familiar with heat embossing, there's a little bit of a powder in here. You just rub it against your cardstock and it will prevent static from having the embossing powder catch where you don't want it to. So then I'm just going to use my Versamark and stamp the happy birthday on a little piece of early espresso. This is about 3/4 of an inch wide, I think. Yep, 3/4 of an inch wide. Get that out of the way. And I'm learning not to put smaller strips of paper in the tray here. Sometimes I can't get them to pick up. Ooh, wow, whoops. That went a little large. No worries though. And then just by giving it a little quick, and then we are in good shape. And I have paintbrushes too to kind of flick off anything that landed where I didn't want it. So I'll set that aside and then heat emboss this just real quick. And you'll see once it gets warm enough that melts and it gets that shine. kind of gets it a little bit better contrast as well. So there's that. And then I just want to make sure that it cools. For me, I thought that kind of intense white might have been just a little bit too bright on the front of this card with all this rustic kind of, yeah, that's good. So I took that soft suede and just brushed it across the front, and it just toned down the white a little bit. And I thought that was just the perfect fit. And then one of my favorite little tricks is to take the hex punch and just very quickly use it to get the pennant on a card. Ooh, that's pretty good. I kind of tend to kind of work into these, see how things look and how much space I want. Maybe just a little bit closer. There we go. I like that. And I'm going to go ahead and put this on the card base. And again, with the other examples I had made, I used the Old Olive matte, but I kind of like it without it as well. And that is absolutely your choice. So, oh, I must have cut this a little bit wrong. See how I've got a little more space here than I do here? So I'm just going to even that up and play through. I come from a watercolor background and we talk about happy accidents, so this one's just going to have a little bit different format than the others, and it will still be beautiful. Just need to eye it a little differently when I place it on the card front, so I get it centered. There it is. And then since that's in place, I like to always put the layers in place, the big full layers, before I do something if I'm using dimensionals. Just makes it easier to apply the adhesive to the back. And I used jute twine on these cards. I like the way I could unravel it a little bit and make it look even more like rope or like baling twine. But if you had something like this is the craft rope, they call it craft rope trim. I think that would work really well. It's a little bit heavier, so you could even maybe separate it into the individual strands and use that for that texture. And it still has that natural color. And of course the burlap ribbon would look really nice if you had that kind of peeking underneath the pennant, or kind of had that showing as well. But I really liked this jute best. I was trying to go for the look of like they were roping something and have it look kind of like that. So just get an idea of the length that I want, and my little trick is to put some snail down. Oh, there we go. Get that thing to drag across there a little better. Then I can kind of line this up on one side and have it kind of hold in place when it comes around to the other side. Just like that. Pretty good. And then the last thing I'm going to do is use some dimensionals to make that pennant stand out a little bit. So there's there. And I didn't want to pin this jute with more dimensionals and have it be kind of lopsided on the card. So I'm using the mini dimensionals kind of alongside of that, which will keep it level and also help keep that jute twine in place for us. So you can cut the full-size dimensionals as well, but I have to admit I'm appreciating the mini dimensionals a lot more than I thought I would. a little bit. Get a little action going on that. There we go. And I'll put this on the card. See, maybe I'll want to trim that lower one. Oh, I kind of like that. Not exactly what I intended, but I like it. So we'll get that in place. And then kind of dealer's choice. I did say I used all the stamps on this card, so I've got Cherry Cobbler here. And same idea with the little star to stamp off so it's not too color saturate. And we can put it there. We can have it floating, but I think I'm gonna nestle it in the foliage there. Nice. And then when that's dry, I will just adhere it here on the inside. Ooh, I do like that red. That pops a little nicer. So, oh, and the other thing I wanted to mention before I say thank you and goodbye, the trimmings from cutting these down. I've seen just wonderful ideas, and I did something where I pieced them together, glued them down, made sure that they were all securely glued, and then used the large alphabet dies to do the eclipse technique, and it looked really awesome. So definitely hold on to what you cut off your 6x6 to make your card fronts and sentiment inside. Alrighty, well, thank you so much. I hope you guys like that, and definitely get in touch with me if you have any questions or need anything.